Hello, everybody, and thanks. It's great to be back. I know it's been a while, sorry. Okay, this video is going to go over the third chapter of The Feelings of the Secret in a lot of detail. And this book's by Neville Goddard. If you are new to this and haven't seen the first video, new to my channel, this video is for people who want to talk about Neville or metaphysics or the feeling of the secret, and want to learn with me, okay, because I am a beginner, and just keep that in mind. I'll have questions when things won't make sense or when things are illogical. I will have some personal experiences to back all this up with, though, and I'll share a lot of them since I've learned a lot since my last video. So I'll share them in this video. Okay. I don't want to do that. I already did that last time. So, yeah, I would recommend actually that you follow along in the book. You will get a lot of more value, I think, from this video if you follow along with an online copy or a physical copy or whatever of The Feeling is a Secret. And so I think I didn't write this caveat down, but anything in here? No. Oh yeah, that's right, the last one. Just look at the last one here. Analyze and put what I say to the test, as well as this book, because in my personal experience, there are things that I'm going to supplement what I read in The Feeling of the Secret. There's a big general idea, and of metaphysics, and it's obviously way too much to cover in one book. I mean, he wrote 10 of them. Anyway, yeah, just test everything that you hear, whether it comes from me or whether you read it from Neville, whatever. That is how I look at everything that I learn, and it's served me pretty well. I now fully am in this kind of belief system, and that was because I was skeptical, like purely like analytical and critical of everything that I read about this. And I tested it, and it worked. So, but you will have to you can't know from my experience. You'll have to test a lot for yourself. Okay, I think we're gonna go down to chapter 3 now because I don't want to make a new slide, or yeah, new slide because I'm lazy. Okay, chapter 3. Okay, so with this particular chapter, I saw some things that I had read earlier because I went through all of his books when I first found out Neville, and there were some confusing sentences in there, some misleading ones, and some ones that I put too much attention and weight to, and because I didn't understand to the level that I do now about what Neville's basic methodology and core beliefs are, which is basically of how consciousness creates your surroundings. And it's one thing to read about it, and trust me, I read Neville, but it's another to experience it and to kind of feel and speak from experience about these kind of things, about changing your reality. Anyway, so I will be a little more liberal in interpreting and weighing what Neville says in this book. But of course, with every bit of advice or opinion that I have, you gotta test it. Okay, so we are in the I like Tame Impala. Okay, we are in chapter 3, above here, right there. Okay, so he opens with prayer, like sleep, is also an entrance into the subconscious. He doesn't go into detail about what exactly an entrance into the subconscious is, but that's how he describes prayer at the beginning. And then he says a little Bible verse right here. Pray to your Father, and your Father will reward you openly. So, he gives several definitions of prayer, and the first one that he gives is this one right here: is an illusion of sleep which diminishes the impression of the outer world and renders the mind more receptive to suggestion. So basically, like, it puts you in a passive state, and we'll talk about that later on, and makes you more, suggestible. Okay. The mind in prayer is in a state of relaxation and receptivity akin to the feeling it attains just before dropping off to sleep. I think I wrote something in here about possible theta. Yeah, I'll do another video about prayer is not what you ask, but it's how you. Okay, so, and this is a pretty important definition right here. It's not what you ask for. Like, a lot of people may have an idea of prayer, but he says it's how you prepare for its reception, its being what you ask for. Okay, it goes and talks about, there's another Bible verse, which is pretty important. Whatsoever things you desire, when you believe that you have received them, then you shall have them. So that's the main point of this Bible verse, is that you should believe that you have received them. And that is, no matter what the rest of the chapter says, no matter what you hear about Neville, my opinion, and in my experience, this idea you should keep at the forefront of your mind and hold all other techniques, all other advice on how to manifest and create in subjection to believing that you have received them, okay? Because at least in my limited experience, all ideas come from this, okay? This very, 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 very important that you hold this tenet of law of consciousness in your head, that after you believe you've received your desires, and it will, things will come to pass that you and you'll receive them. Okay, so and then he goes on to describe the verse by saying the only condition required is that you believe that your prayers are already realized. Okay, and then what did I? Okay. Okay, and then he gives some insight into the means of it actually doing it. He says the subconscious finds means for its realization. There's a lot of talks that Neville says, in a lot of lectures. There's a lot of not knowing how, not really bothering with how things come about in regards to practicing the law. But here he says the subconscious finds means, so the subconscious does it, according to Neville right here. Okay, so to pray successfully, then you must yield to the wish and feel the wish fulfilled. So, okay, so here's the first word, or first use. Where's my pen? There it is. Here's the first use of the word yield. So I'm going to say that yield, and that anyone watching this should define yield as feeling the wish fulfilled. Okay, it's right here. Yielding to the wish is feeling the wish fulfilled. He'll go into more detail about effort and what exactly. Well, he just goes into more detail about yielding. Anyway, the next sentence, and then he goes off and introduces how we need to correct our nature, our tendency as a human to interpret as real what our senses tell us, and only interpret as real instead of consciousness what our senses tell us. So he talks about, okay, actually, before I go into that, the feeling comes after you get what you want. Okay, this is an important point that I should make. Okay, so yeah, I'll talk about the disciplined man later on. Your prayer must be answered if you follow the okay. So what I meant by this right here, the feeling comes after accepting that you got what you want. Right here, with this Bible verse, he establishes the premise that you should believe that you have received whatever you asked for, and then he introduces the feeling. Your prayer must be answered if you assume the feeling that would be yours. In my experience, the feeling comes after you assume, because if you assume a premise, if you assume a fact, like for example, I am loved. Okay, you know you may say to yourself, or you may picture yourself the idea. You're going to impregnate your mind with the feeling of being loved, or the idea of being loved, and then after that, it follows the natural progression of how does that feel. Okay, so you have something, you have an idea, and then this is also a belief, and then after that is the feeling. Okay, this is what has worked for me. I establish an idea or a belief or something that I want, and later on, it's easy for me to assume the feeling of whatever I want. A lot of the times it's relief or joy or happiness or whatever. Anyway, okay, so I wanted to draw attention to that yielding is feeling, but what comes before is believing that you've already received it, okay? Alright, so 1, 2. Okay, alright, now we're going on to the disciplined man. Okay, so there's 3 basic beliefs of the disciplined man, characteristics. So he or she knows that the consciousness is the only reality, that is the source. I'll go into that more in detail in the power of awareness. I recently listened to it again, and it has some pretty good stuff. That ideas and feelings help shape reality, and are as real as objects. I don't know about this particular one. If anyone out there has any resources that define or help elucidate the idea of having ideas and feelings as real as objects, or what makes them as real as objects, because I'm going out on a little tangent here. But if in the power of awareness, consciousness is established as the main source, the prime source, and it follows that nothing can come from consciousness that is not consciousness. So consciousness and things can only beget them from things that were of themselves. So that could be what he is talking about here, but I don't know. If you guys have any clues or ideas to help me, or anyone else that has this concern, just or question, then type away. Okay, and the discipline does not entertain thoughts that do not contribute to his happiness. And it's over here. Okay, all 3. All right. Feelings are the causes of actions. All right. Or causes of the actions. All right. Okay. And disciplined man finds it hard to believe what he can't see. Basically. The undisciplined man finds it difficult to believe that which is denied by the senses, and usually accepts or rejects solely based on appearances of the senses. And then the next sentence is, because of this tendency to rely on the evidence of the senses, it's necessary to shut them out before starting to pray. So I'm just going to take this clause and draw attention to the fact that he assumes that everyone watching or reading the book is an undisciplined man, which is not fair, but I just want to say that the transition from disciplined to undisciplined, and then because of this tendency that most people have, it's important to shut out your senses before starting to pray. And he goes on to say why that's important, I think, later on. Okay, so he doesn't go out and say it, but with the thought, with the order of the sentences, assuming that he's saying that everybody is undisciplined, which is fine, fair. Okay. Doesn't understand the nature of content. Okay, guys. So, and this is a bit of my commentary right here, is that the undisciplined man may only believe in the senses because that is the only thing that he has experienced, he or she has experienced, or they. And so because of that, because they don't understand this basic tenet right here, the nature of consciousness, or the fact that consciousness is the only reality, everything comes from consciousness, if that idea were to be internalized, then I believe that the previously undisciplined man would not give so much weight to what their senses tell them. Okay, because this comes back to my little thing. Well, no, I think I talked about it in a previous video, but beliefs about the world and your surroundings and yourself all come from, well, actually, yeah, feelings and actions comes from beliefs and how you see the world. So if you see the world through the lens of the law of consciousness, then you can maybe turn into a perfectly disciplined man. But I mean, we're human, so whatever. Anyway, where are we here? Whatever you are in the state of mind. Okay, did I talk about this? Yeah, okay, I did. So this sentence is important right here. Whenever for attending to honor. Just make sure I didn't forget anything right here. This clause is not that important. I'll talk about he'll talk about it later, and I will too. Okay. So next sentence. Whenever you are in the state of mind, I should like to but cannot. The harder you try, the less you are able to yield to the wish. Okay. So he goes into a little bit here, attempting to feel that which they deny, and yielding and putting in effort to the wish instead of, or sorry, putting in effort instead of yielding, submitting instead of trying to force an idea. But I'll go into this. I'll go into it later on. Anyway, first part. Whenever you are in the state of mind, I should like to, but I cannot. The harder you try, the less you are able to yield to the wish. So that's this subject right here, the state of mind. Whenever you are in state of mind right there, it's very important that everybody, I think, should be conscious of what state of mind they're in at all times, because you are going to attract what you are conscious of being. So mindfulness is really important in just being aware of what is the state that you are occupying. If you are worried for something, for example, like if say I'm worried about money or something, why am I in the state of worry if I fully believe that I'm wealthy enough to not have debt or something? So yeah, that's just my little commentary about that. Yeah, always attract. Okay, conscious of being. Yeah, same thing. State of mind, being in the state. Ooh, where's my pen? Being in the state and being conscious of the same thing. Okay. Never attract. Okay. All right. Another definition of prayer right here. Prayer is the art of assuming the feeling of being and having that which you want. What do I say about that? Nope. Okay, it's another definition. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Art of assuming the feeling, being and having that which you want. Okay. Right. And then he says a sentence. Okay. This I want to spend a little time on. When the senses confirm the absence of your wish, all conscious effort, this is tying into effort and not yielding, and what was here? tempting to feel that which they deny. All conscious effort to counteract this suggestion. This suggestion is the absence of your wish. Okay? So when the senses confirm the suggestion of the absence of your wish, all conscious effort to counteract that suggestion is futile and tends to intensify the suggestion. I think, let's see, there was I can't remember where I got it from, but a quote is coming to me, and Neville says that when you reject something, you give it attention, but the word that he used was denounce. So when you reject, I think in this example, Neville said when you reject evil, then you just make it stronger in your head. But when you denounce it, you take your attention away from it. You immediately count it as false, and you replace it with another idea. It's like not thinking of a pink elephant when I say pink elephant, or don't think of a pink elephant. This is what I think he means right here when he says that it tends to intensify the suggestion, the unwanted suggestion. Okay, right. Yielding to, not forcing the wish. Okay, and he talks about feeling. Nope, I skipped ahead. Okay, next sentence. Prayer is the art of yielding to the wish, not the forcing of the wish. Whenever your feeling is in conflict with your wish, feeling will be the victor. The dominant feeling invariably expresses itself. This is an important point to keep in mind. Because, okay, in the last chapter, I think I defined, where am I? There I am. I defined feeling. Feeling is the assent of the subconscious to the truth of that which is declared to be true. So that of which you declared to be true. So you have to be aware of the state of mind, and it's also whatever you are conscious of being, and the feeling that you are experiencing at whatever point in time, because that is going to be the victor. Okay, yeah, that's important. Everybody. Okay, next sentence. To yield successfully to the wish as an accomplished fact, we must create a passive state. Okay, this is the paragraph that he talks about SATs, basically. He goes into great detail about how to get a really deep degree of passivity. But in the last sentence, he says it's not essential to the realization of your prayers. All that's necessary is to create a passive state and feel the wish fulfilled. If I had paid more attention to this sentence, I would have saved myself a lot of frustration, I think. All you need to do, you don't, like, before I talk about, because I'm going to talk about this paragraph, I'm not going to let it go. But before I do, I'm going to look at this set of instructions in the light of, or in the perspective of, the technique is not as important as the underlying belief, or the core tenet of what Neville Goddard preaches, which is, and I don't have to go reference another book. I can just go back up here to this little Bible verse in Matthew, Mark, okay. Whatsoever things you desire, believe that you have received them, and you shall have them. That's where it starts. Believing you already have it. Feeling comes after. And that's what he says right here. Yeah, all that is necessary is to create a passive state and feel the wish fulfilled. So the reason why you have to create a passive state is because you have to shut out the senses. Because, well, in the case of someone being an undisciplined man or woman or other. see, next. Prayer must be without effort. Okay. Did I go into this yet? We're gonna go talk about this. Okay. I think it's up here. Prayer must be without effort. There we go. Okay, right. Because I talked about the importance of the feeling, and the next sentence is prayer must be without effort. In attempting to fix an attitude of mind which is denied by the senses, effort is fatal. Okay, this is another sentence that I put way too much thought into and weight. Because you have to look at this sentence in context. When he says prayer must be without effort, and this took me a while, obviously, to find out and discover. It's not literal. You have to you have to try. It's not effortless to deny what your senses tell you. And when he says that prayer must be without effort, it's in the context of the feeling is the most important thing, and you have to put yourself in a passive state in order to dull your senses or quiet them down in order to make yourself more suggestible. Okay, I can't, like, if you're reading this book and if you're thinking to yourself that, well, why am I like trying, because he says right here prayer must be without effort. You should only, and this is from me, this is my interpretation, you should use as much effort as it takes to, going back to the basics, to believe that you have received whatever you want, and assume the feeling that comes after that comes after assuming that you have already received what you want. Okay, it doesn't, I mean, if someone were to look at this literally and not look at the context of the paragraph, then they would, say that he would be contradicting himself, because believing that you have received, you have to expend effort to believe something, and you have to expend effort to assume a feeling. So, he's not contradicting himself. He's just being a little hard to follow. But yeah, this sentence messed me up big time, big time. So I want to present that idea in accordance with my experiences and opinions. Of course, if anyone has anything to say about that, please go ahead. Okay, next sentence. I think we're talking about, all right, the reverie sats thing. Okay. Kind of reverie or meditative reflection similar to the feeling which precedes sleep. And he gives a couple of instructions: sitting in a comfortable chair, or laying flat and hypnotizing yourself, basically imagining that you are sleepy, very sleepy. So I tried that. I tried, using audio files instead of, like, I thought it'd be easier, and because hypnotism is a thing, and so I thought that this was what Neville would have, like, gone toward if the technology was there. But when I am manifesting for myself, I lay down and I picture a spot in between like in the middle of my forehead. And I didn't know I was doing this until a couple days ago, when I just kind of scrunched up my forehead and focused on basically where your third eye is. I mean, I didn't know I was doing this. I didn't know that I was doing it consciously, but I found that when I was imagining a scene that was not real, tension would gather, and it's just a light focus would gather right in the middle of my forehead, and it would. I have found that I've been able to imagine and slip into the world that I imagine a lot easier. If you guys want to try it out, go ahead. But this has worked for me in doing sats, and when I need a base of support for something that I want to change within my own life to counteract the barrage of senses that tell me that what I want is not here yet. This is what I use. I just lay down flat on my back, and I kind of have to set the intention that I'm going to imagine, and I put myself in that state, and invariably I will find that there is tension and pressure in the middle of my forehead. Anyway, that's a personal thing that I wanted to say. Okay, going into prayer state. Okay, so the prayer state is here. The passive state, the reverie. Okay, it easily senses the reality of a subjective state. Okay, so if you want to try this out, if you're new to this, then go ahead. It just did not work for me as well as what I just described. Okay, so the state in which you are conscious and able to move but don't want to. Yeah, I tried to find this feeling back when I was a few months ago or weeks ago, where I was waiting for the feeling of not being able to move and wanting to, or not wanting to, or sorry, being able to move but not wanting to. And he describes it. Okay, yeah. The faraway feeling, general lassitude, loss of all desire to move, feeling of pleasant, comfortable rest. I was laying down and flat on my back, and I was waiting for that feeling, and it never really came for me because I put too much emphasis on the technique and on the feeling that was supposed to happen as a result of the whole purpose of me laying down and shutting off my senses, which was to believe. Go on. Yeah, I don't need to go back and scroll, but the whole purpose of this technique is to believe that you have received something and then assuming the feeling. It okay. So I got tripped up by this. I don't want anyone watching this to get tripped up. If you're not feeling everything that Neville says in here, that's fine. The main point is to stay true to the main beliefs, which are believe that you have received something, submit to it, yield to it. It's a fact. Just live by it, and then explore how that feels to you. Okay, so that's that paragraph right there. The next one is okay. No, he still talks about the prayer state here. Imagine in picture form what you desire. So he's very specific when he says that, when he gives instructions on what to do after you've reached the prayer state. Yeah, so first you imagine in picture form what you desire, and then you feel yourself has already achieved it. I'm going to venture to say that if you want to imagine feeling something, if you want to imagine hearing, somebody congratulate you, you want to feel somebody's hand, shake your hand, then go for it. I don't think that you should only limit yourself to imagining in picture form. Again, just going back to the main two things that you should remember. I'm not going to repeat it. Okay, so and then thoughts produce tiny speech movements which may be heard in the passive state of prayer as pronouncements from without. This sentence, I didn't actually. I think I was researching it back when I was going to release a video a couple months ago, and I just so happened, right, coincidence, to read or listen to Neville's lecture about mental diets and self-talk, or yeah, mental diets / self-talk creates reality. He talks about the tiny little speech movements here, and the paragraph that talks about the tiny little speech movements is, the prophet Samuel said, "The Lord spake by me, and his word was in my tongue." If the Lord's word was in the prophet's tongue, then the Lord's mouth that uttered the word must be in the prophet's mind. Must be the prophet's mind, okay? The Lord's mouth, where am I? The Lord's mouth that uttered the word must be the prophet's mind. Because if the Lord's word was in the prophet's tongue, because of what Samuel said right here, the Lord spake by me, and his word is in my tongue. So, those are the same things. The Lord's mouth is the prophet's mind. So, and then the next clause, for inner conversations originate in the mind and produce tiny speech movements in the tongue. So he says that I think comparatively, the words that we say are tiny compared to the inner conversations that originate in the mind. But you know, I don't know. I'm guessing here. Okay, and to finish the paragraph, the prophet is telling us that the mouth of God is the mind of man, and that our inner conversations are the word of God creating life about us as we create it within ourselves with the words and subconscious that we use. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This sentence is very important. All that is necessary is to create a passive state, feel the wish fulfilled. Okay, if you can shut out your senses and 1, believe that you've received it, 2, feel that you've assumed the feeling, then that's awesome, fantastic. If you have trouble shutting out your senses, if you need a little more help, then you can try and do this this technique that Neville talks about. Okay. Yep. All right, what are we at here? As the end is accepted. Okay. All right. So we're going on to the next paragraph. All you can possibly need or desire is already yours. You have no helper. It is yours now. Call your desires by imagining and feeling your wish fulfilled. Saying that again. As the end is accepted. Okay, this is important. This is, though, something that you should not be searching for and waiting. This is something that should result as a matter of course for you assuming that you have something and assuming the feeling of you having something. But this is kind of what happens. As the end is accepted, you become totally different as to possible failure. When I was imagining for my friend, like no matter what she told me, no matter how bad it seemed that her life was getting, I didn't care. I mean, it didn't move me emotionally. I felt for her, of course, as a friend, but I made a Reddit post about this. Basically, for anybody who's out of the loop, I imagined that a friend of mine was completely healthy in every way, and in 2 weeks, she no longer had symptoms of anorexia. As of and these symptoms were something that she had been suffering from for. She actually couldn't even tell me how long it had been. I'm assuming it had been more than a couple of years because of a lot of trauma that she's endured. Anyway, so I can personally attest to being totally indifferent to possible failure because I just was brazenly impudent that she was healthy, like, no matter what happened. And in 2 weeks she was eating normal meals. Anyway, so for acceptance of the end wills the means to that end. Okay, yeah, it's gonna happen. As a matter of course, all you gotta do is follow the 2 steps. When you emerge from the moment of prayer, it is as though you were shown the happy and successful end of the play. So that is what you should keep in mind. I think a helpful idea for me is that no matter what happens, no matter what potential setbacks you may have encountered, this is all part of the story. This is just, you know, something that is going to make the end that much sweeter. Like, because it doesn't matter. You've seen the end of the play. What kind of play would it be if there weren't any struggle with it? You know, so I would recommend that you be happy with it and um, you know, accept it, enjoy the feelings that you get. Maybe the fear, you know, it's exciting. Like I've felt that, um, where it's exciting that this is happening and this is going to be such a good story because I'm not worried about the end. It doesn't matter. I'm impudent and I'm stubborn about the end that I want, and it's going to happen, you know, sooner or later. The consciousness creates reality. I go back to the belief of what I think about the world, and that's I think what everyone should turn back to. You have to have the basic, where I talk about it, the belief about the world that consciousness creates reality. And I think I mean I can go back into the other. I wouldn't be able to find it, but the facts of your beliefs and your acceptance of them and your feeling that they are true, creating a mark on reality. Like you can't once you've experienced it, you can't deny it. It's like how are you gonna deny that an orange tastes sweet? You know, you can't. Um, anyway. However, having witnessed the end, regardless of any anticlimactic sequence, you must remain calm and secure. You remain calm and secure, and the knowledge that the end has been perfectly defined. Yeah, that's it. It's natural. Do I have anything to say after that? Sorry. Oh, okay. I did want to say. Oh, yeah. Something that's helpful for me too is I read a Reddit post and there was somebody that said that there was always movement. Like things are always happening. There's always something happening in the background. Just because you can't perceive something, just because it seems like things are terrible, you don't know. You don't know what's happening in the world. You don't know what things are moving into place for your desire to be fulfilled. There's always movement. Okay. Hopefully that helps somebody. Okay, and I would, if anyone here watching the video is worried about a manifestation or something or a desire that seemed to have not happened or has failed, I would recommend that you take a look at the lecture, and I did a Reddit post about this too. Titled A Parabolic Revelation, and it tells the story of how Neville wanted to pay a certain amount in rent, and it didn't happen after 2 months, like three whole months, I think. I don't know, a certain amount of months. And his wife too was like, oh well, you know, this stuff doesn't work. And he said he didn't say anything, and but as a result of him just believing it. It says Neville said that he got this whole bunch of bonuses that wouldn't have happened if he would have gotten his desire right when he wanted it. So because he persisted in it, because he didn't give up, even after the time passed, he got back paid. You know, he already refunded or whatever. He got his money back, and he got a whole bunch of other bonuses beside just because he persisted after quote unquote failure. Oh yeah, so this is not failure. This is quote unquote failure. Okay, so in summary, in this book he gives a lot of definitions of What is this? Okay. Prayer. So, first, an illusion of sleep that makes it easier to ignore the outer world and renders the mind more receptive to suggestion from within. So that is the main idea. That is the principle of prayer. Is that you can do. I would venture to say that you can do whatever you want as long as it helps you ignore the outer world and makes you more receptive to suggestion from within. And prayer is how you prepare for its reception, which is believing and then feeling. And prayer is also the art of assuming the feeling of being and having that which you want, or yielding to the wish. Okay, so I think that is done. Yeah, I don't think I have anything to say. In the description, there is a link to a Discord group that I made for anyone who wants to talk about Neville or metaphysics, because these beliefs that we have are very unique, and I, for one, have a very conservative family, and the interpretations that Neville has of the Bible would be considered heresy. And so there's absolutely no way. I mean, I'm sure my parents would love me, but if we can't really talk about this with random people. We don't have, and so what I want to create with the Discord group is a sort of community where it's a safe place to ask questions or make relationships, because we as humans are social creatures, and this part of our lives, you and me watching, or you and me and you watching this video, this part of our lives, the way that we view the world is very, very important. It's integral to our being, and I think that if somebody doesn't have a community to reach out to and commune with, then that is going to lead to unhappiness, and there's better things in store for people who can communicate with people who they can trust. And so that's what I want to do with the Discord group. Everybody take care, continue to practice the law, take care of each other, and yeah, be safe. See you in the next video, which is chapter 4.